Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm referring to myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th. Before I start reading, I would like to thank you as always for subscribing to my channel, liking and commenting on this video. It really makes a difference for me and it makes me happy to see all your comments. And you know, I reply to all of them. All right, I'm going to start reading. Lorrayne, why did we continue supporting things when we saw that they were lowering the vibration? You said we thought, fine, it does do the job, but we knew it was low vibe and the vibration was already too low. Why did we just go ahead anyway? It seems like a case of the blind leading the blind. It's shocking, really. Me. Yes, and we're not going to go too much into depth here because we just discussed this. We understand. And again, Clea is not the only one who's frustrated and beating her head against the wall saying, how did we get here? It is the blind leading the blind, and they were laughing. We all made a bunch of mistakes. At the same time, at the higher self level, this is a game. And so we played along thinking that what we were doing was just another way of playing the game. We never aimed to take this down. We never knew that this would be the outcome of it. It wasn't obvious to us. And therefore, that's the nature of mistakes, right? You regret, you wish you could go back and do them over, but it was not intentional. And yeah, we continue supporting these things because again, it's just one thing after the other. Lorrayne, it's just a game, me. Yeah, and not only it's just a game, but again, in 3D reality, you continue supporting these things because they are normal. It's just one step after the other. It's like, how do you boil a frog, right? It is not that we came one day and said, oh, we are one with source. And the next day we're saying, oh, let's do rituals. It doesn't happen that way. Normally, it's very gradual. Of course, then we had the resets where it was even jerky in that sense. And of course, then there's really not a lot you can do to recalibrate. Lorrayne. Well, from the higher perspective in the multiverse, there's hundreds of thousands of games, and this game is not so precious that it couldn't be an experiment delving into as dark as we could possibly get and seeing how that was. After all, we're here to experiment. So it's a thing. It's just a thing. I don't think anybody did anything wrong. Me. Yeah, and we like your perspective about it. But the truth is that we weren't trying to experiment with going dark, so dark. In fact, we know better because we know that if we get out of range, we're not going to have fun anymore. So what's the point? Without even going to the extreme of saying eventually you're going to go so far out of range, you're going to have to take this down. And if we had known that, we definitely would have not done it because we don't want to take these games down because then nobody's experimenting anymore. That's what's happening right now. We're not experimenting anymore. We're done here. We basically destroyed something. That's never a good ending to a story. But yeah, no, it was mostly basically what it was is that we just didn't know. We just didn't know. The dark was doing what the dark does. It's almost like, think of it in your 3D reality. You might think, oh, you know what? I want to become a multimillionaire. So I'm going to set up to win the lottery today. And then tomorrow my life is going to transform. It's going to be so good when I have all these things. I've always wanted a yacht. I wanted a private jet, all these things. So your life is going to be completely different a month from now, that quickly. The dark was doing the same thing at a very 3D level. They were thinking, what would we do if we could win? If we could have everything we want, what would we do? So they're just going about their little schemes, just like we go about our little schemes when we think, oh, how am I going to get ahead at work? What should I do? How should I impress my boss? That's all. It all seems very humdrum, very mundane from a daily reality. And at a higher self level, when we are in these games, we're just thinking of strategy like this, exactly like this. Then you're in a video game. Do I want to go left? Do I want to go right? Do I want to fight this guy that's coming up who's wearing a gun? Or do I want to make friends with this other person over here? That's all we're doing. Again, it's a game. But no, we never came here thinking, oh, let's see what happens if we break this, if we go all the way to negative polarity. It could even be all the way 80% to positive polarity. We would have still hated it because we would have had no fun whatsoever. It would be so boring. We would have wanted to shoot ourselves. So we never go in. We know this is going to happen. We never want to go in to experiment because we already know how the energy works. And again, we already know what happens. We come from the 25th because we know how it feels, for example, if you have no polarity, no nothing. So we wanted that balance, and it just didn't work out. But we do appreciate what you're saying, because the bottom line is, in hindsight, when we look back, we say, well, okay, we now saw in real life, if you want to think of it that way. It's just funny to say real life when it comes to the Matrix. In real life, we saw what that looked like and why we always want to recalibrate when we're getting out of range. So that's a good way of looking at it. And I made a note here where I wrote, it is like following the wrong strategy in a game. You don't know until the game ends if your strategy was good or not, depending on whether you win or lose. So were you wrong because you picked the wrong strategy? It's only wrong in hindsight. In the beginning, it's just one of the many strategies that could work. And so again, as I mentioned, this session and the way that they've explained things in this session really has helped me overcome that bottleneck in my understanding. So I hope this also clarifies things for you in case you have had this issue with experiencing frustration at what we're going through. Lorrayne, thank you. Okay. Is the story of Judas betraying Jesus true? And is that why Jesus ended the way he did? It seems more like a dark narrative than a true story. It also seems symbolic of what we as the team of the light have lived like here. We wanted to change things, but people didn't follow us. They wanted us to be gone because we were too uncomfortable, too annoying. Me. The 25th was laughing. And they said, yeah, so again, Clea is having a hard time. And again, because of all the dreams she's been having, these are very vivid feelings to her. The fact that clearly we are party poopers and nobody wants to hear from us. And so, of course, that increases the level of frustration because you see, we were trying to tell you, we were trying to warn you. And now here we are and we have a situation on our hands. So yes, we understand. So Judas. So the story of Judas was true-ish, we shall say, meaning that obviously there was what you might refer to as betrayal here. It didn't quite work in the way that we've been told it worked, with the dinner and no dinner and the gold piece. These are all symbolisms, right? And yes, in that sense, yes, it has been brought down to us to show us. And while it makes it look like the good triumphs, really what it's showing us is that, yeah, you cannot protect yourself. And it doesn't matter how good you are, the dark is going to get you. So while it looks like a happy ending story, just like it happens in Disney movies, right? It looks like a happy ending story, but meanwhile, the protagonist had to lose her parents, in a traumatic accident when she was little. And so the dark is very good at showing us the truth. We know what the plot is behind the plot, below the surface. So we're always meant to focus on, oh, this is a happy ending story, so it's all good. But no, they make it a point to show you that the dark is always there lurking. Again, what does this do for us? It makes us feel vulnerable. It makes us feel like we're playing the game. In fact, at game level, anybody you speak to will say, of course, the dark is part of it. The dark is part of life. And now, is it part of life? Yes, here it is. We all have dark inside of us. So of course it's part of life. But the way that they show it to you, the way they symbolize it to you, it really is very depressing. It's almost like you can't get away from it. So it's not just coming to terms with the fact, because we never hear this, right? The point is never that we have dark and light inside of us, which is the truth. It's always that there is somebody out there ready to pounce on you when you least expect it, to take you down. And for example, even the fact that we remember Judas as much as we remember Jesus, they're equal in our memory. And they were laughing here for really how absurd this is. They are equal, just like when you talk about Cain and Abel, right? There's always a light and dark. And again, while you might say, well, it's just symbolism, like yin and yang or whatever. And in reality, it does work that way. There's always light and dark. They're really taking it to the next level, which is be afraid, Nothing will ever be all good. And while again, we know that at essence level, we know this. We have light and dark inside of us because we are everything. By definition, we have everything inside of us. Stories like these are made as a warning, really. They're supposed to be good, meaning that good things are happening. There is a happy ending. But is it a happy ending? Yeah, Jesus theoretically, according to the story, resuscitated. But I mean, he still died. And we're laughing here because really, when you think about it like this, it's ridiculous, really. So now you got to believe that he resuscitated to even make it a happy ending. Because I mean, I would think it's pretty bad that this guy showed up after all the work Jesus had done. And with just one betrayal, he said, yeah, he's over there, take him. Now, you don't even need that nowadays. We have Facebook. It's like you don't even need somebody to betray you. to say, oh, that's what he looks like. So see, the dark has become much more sophisticated. So is it a true story? Is it 100% the way it was described? No. Are they trying to make a point? Yes. We already know all the stories in the Bible were changed, if not completely invented, made up to make certain points that were coming from the side of the dark, because these were points that religion wanted to make, the institution of religion, which has been one of the major forces of darkness on this planet. And this is not to criticize or judge anybody who is religious. It is not about that. It's something we have wanted here. We have wanted to experience being caged in our spirituality so we don't get wild. And they were laughing. Because you see what happens when we get wild. We open our eyes to certain things, and all of a sudden we're talking to the 25th. You see, stuff happens. And so we had to. We wanted to keep ourselves under wraps in a small contained space. And that's where the institution of religion sprang up. And so, yes, basically, the story has some truth to it, of course. You can imagine not everybody in Jesus' circle was of the light. This is not just how we work, how it works. We connect with each other all the time. We are next to people in the middle, or even people going towards the dark, or even dark people quite often. And we know this, and we would be very clear on it. We obviously know it at a higher self level. We know who everybody is. But even at 3D level, you know, sometimes you feel it, or you know. We already said an easy way to know which side somebody's on is to see how they deal with the power structures. Anybody who's in a position of power or is okay with certain types of compromises, you know, they're either on the side of the dark or they're in the middle, but they're leaning towards the dark. They're okay with that, and there's no judgment. You know, we like to think in terms of morality and ethics here, but the higher self level, this is nothing. It's just an experience. And I do hear some drilling next door. This time it's that way because I have actually 2 units that are being remodeled at the same time. So I apologize if the noise comes through. Hopefully it's not too bothersome. It should be muted enough, but I want to make sure you guys can hear this. This is going to be going on for a while, and unfortunately, this is the only time I can record these videos, so hopefully you guys bear with me. I do apologize. Lorrayne, thank you. You said that we are now consciously learning that we create a reality because it's a big deal that this is being done on a 3D planet, and a dying one at that. However, I wonder if our willingness to bring this new knowledge in and to flex our muscle, so to speak, by imposing our intention on this planet, has to do with the fact that we're taking this game down anyway. So we really are not worried about breaking the game at this point, which means that this might not apply to future incarnations on a normal planet. And the reason I asked this question is because I was a little concerned because, yes, we're learning all these things. Supposedly it's a big thing, it's a big deal, but are we actually going to be able to utilize this knowledge in the future, or are we just going to forget it as we incarnate on other planets and have amnesia? Because obviously on other planets they have the veil. Me. Yes, so we already said, we know why Clea is saying this. She's worried and she's saying, why are we doing all of this? Again, we don't even know if we'll be able to truly use that anywhere else. We already said, if you think that using this newfound knowledge means that you change your reality like on New Earth, meaning that you want your tree, instead of being green, you want it to be pink with yellow sparkles, then no, you're not going to do that on other planets. You do not want to ruin the game for other people. You truly don't want to ruin the game, the appearance of the game, even for yourself. But it still means that if you don't like your circumstances, you can change them. And again, it wouldn't be changing like all of a sudden you're going to start floating, you know, levitating in front of people, flying in front of your friends, if it's a planet where people don't fly, because you want that. But you can change it. There are so many shades of gray between these two extremes, where right now we have felt very powerless. Up until now, we felt very powerless here. Oh, everything is coming from the outside. So if the government decides to target me, it's what it is. It's bad luck. There's nothing I can do. I'm screwed, basically. Whereas once you know that you create your own reality, we're not talking about the law of attraction here. We're laughing. Once you truly know that you are Neo and this is all not real, you can change the things that you don't want, that you don't like. And that's what that means. But still within whatever limits you impose on yourself in terms of, yeah, but I still want to believe this game is real. So maybe for you, it means that, again, you manifest winning the lottery and all of a sudden you move to a mansion because you always wanted a mansion where you could house all your 32 cousins because you really want to be close with your cousins because you hated that you're so far away and you don't spend enough time together. Whatever that looks like to you. but within the guidelines of the planet, of the shell. Because again, if you did not want to play within that shell, within that reality, you would just find a way to take yourself out and go to another planet. What is the point of being there if you're going to be so different? That's what we're trying to say. So again, in answer to this question, it's not that we're just doing it here and it will be useless everywhere else because we're doing it here saying, well, we can't break anything because we're discarding it anyway, so who cares? We're not going to break. We're not going to use this to break anything in the future. We're simply going to remember who we are, and we are going to use it to our advantage in terms of, I don't want to live in this low vibration, whatever low vibration is. You might be on the Pleiades. You might be with the Arcturians, whatever that is that you don't like. You can say, no, I can change this. It's okay. I'm going to need to have this manifestation over here. So it's similar to what we're doing right now. We are changing our reality. We're aware of our changing our reality, and we are changing actually the overall reality. That's how we've rebalanced and all of that without breaking the game. We still are keeping the shell in place. I'm going to end this video here. I do hope you enjoyed it and that maybe clarified some things or comforted you in some ways, knowing that we will get over this frustration. Again, there was no foul here. We just didn't know what we're doing, basically, pretty much. So we're all at fault if you want to think of it that way, but in reality, we are all innocent because none of us was intending for things to get so out of hand. And at this point, again, it is what it is. So we're just going to have to take it in stride and move forward. So again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you as always for watching, and take care.